Welcome to the How to Quit Working show. This is the only show that brings you awesome people just like you who got sick and tired of doing something they don't like and don't care about and have created an amazing life of freedom using what they know instead of just getting paid for what they do. And now, here's your host, the Quit Working guy, Jeff Steinman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, I have Myrna Lou. Myrna worked in the corporate world for many, many years, and she is one of the lucky people in this world who had a supportive spouse who said, get the hell out of there and go do what you want to do. And now, Myrna has a successful business as a palmist, reading people's palms and doing what she loves on her terms. She loves it, and she's here to talk about it today. Myrna, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks a lot, and thanks for having me.
I am so glad to have you here because the biggest thing that I want in this podcast is I want to have a huge variety of different people with different topics, and I have nobody with anything anywhere even close to what you do. So that is exciting for me.
And it's exciting for me.
Yeah. Well, so tell us a little bit about your journey. So you worked in the corporate world until 1996. What did you do there, and how did this all unfold?
Well, first of all, I started doing palm reading when I was 10 years old, and my mother was a nurse in a hospital. I showed up for a ride home, and she couldn't leave, so she gave me a book off the volunteer wagon and said, here, sit down there and read that. And I was quiet. I was in the fourth grade, and I read a book on palmistry. It took me a long time to understand it because it's very complicated, but I loved it, and from that day on, that was my introduction into it. Then I did palm reading in high school, college, when I got married, all different times, and I would just do it for fun. And one day somebody said to me, you ought to get in fairs, and so I started doing fairs on the weekends. Now I do 28 a year out of 52 weeks. That's pretty many fairs.
Wow, do you travel for those?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
And some of them are 3 days.
Okay.
And then if you travel, I live in Colorado. Sometimes I go to Wyoming or Nebraska. I travel different cities in Colorado, so I go with friends who also do readings, and we split the motel and the gas and the food and everything, and that helps. But I'm into this 24/7. I love what I do, and not everybody can say they do what they love, and I'm pretty good at it. I get 90 to 95% right when I do a reading, and that makes me feel good, and I help a lot of people who are in either financial problems or medical, could be relationship, and I can look right on their hand and tell them where they are, where it's going. I don't tell people what to do. I just show them the opportunities, and then they have free will to make changes if they think they need to.
I see.
And so that's how I got started. So in 1996, I got remarried, and my husband had 2 small children at that time, 5 and 7, and I was trying to work and come home and do laundry and strip beds and do the 8-hour shift after you do the 8-hour shift.
Yeah.
And he said, I have enough for both of us, for all of us, you don't need to work. So I looked at him like he was crazy, and I said, I'm not going to you for every dime. I have to have money for my grandchildren. And he said, you know what? Why don't you do what gives your heart joy? I know you love palmistry. So I started doing a little bit more. And I went on a radio show in Denver in 1996, one day after I quit corporate. And I'd been in corporate for 35 years as a secretary, and I worked up to executive secretary with 42 case managers under me.
Wow.
And I decided, okay, I'm going on this show. Well, they invited me for 15 minutes, and I stayed for 2 hours, and I booked 358 people from one show.
Oh, my gosh.
So I blew out the equipment, which was a switchboard at this radio station.
Wow.
And they had 400 calls come in, and I couldn't take them all. So I only got 358 of them who called my home. But it took me 6 months to get through those people.
Wow.
And then my husband said, well, your career has just been made. And he created a Cookie Monster. Because from that, I wrote my first book, which was called May I See Your Hand. And I still teach classes and do book signings on that one.
Okay.
And that was with a publisher called Woman in the Moon. But she has since gone out of business. So I did that book in 1 hour. I wrote it, and because you write books, it takes a lot more than 1 hour, so I believe that book was channeled, and it just came through me.
That's awesome.
Then I sent out 14 query letters to 14 different publishers, and 4 of them wanted it. And that's like unheard of. And I was so excited.
Wait a minute. So you just left corporate, and you wrote a book, and you sent out 14 query letters and got 4 responses.
That's like 25% almost
That's
back.
insane.
That's right. 4 different publishers said, quick, send us a manuscript. We don't have anything like that.
Wow.
We want it. So I went the wrong way because I picked one who went out of business after about a year later, or a couple years later. But I've reprinted that book probably 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
And it's when I teach, I work out of it, and I require everybody has to buy the book.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I've taught 3,024 people so far, just in my home or at rec centers or schools or wherever. And I've taught kindergarten through old age homes.
Okay.
So they get it because I teach it very slowly and very carefully, and it just takes 2 hours. The type of palmistry I do is not Hindu Indian, which is very complicated. I do Oriental or Asian, comes from China. Anyway, I've been doing that. So I wrote the next book in 2003, and that was called Soulmate Connections. And the reason I wrote that book was because everybody that I talk to, men or women, are average age 40 to 60, and they're either in a relationship and they don't like it, or they're seeking one, or they want to know what's wrong. Theirs sort of went down the tubes, and they have a roommate now and not anything exciting at home. What's going on? So I decided I would write that book to help those kinds of people.
Oh.
So that book has 17 pages of what not to do and what to do, and it's things your mother never even told you.
Okay.
And I have 53 years of marriage behind me, so I know what to, I knew what to say. So then it has 46 love stories of people that I've read, and all a person would have to do is resonate with one of them, and they got it. They understand it, and they go, I know what I'm doing wrong, or I know what I need, or I'm going to go do what that person did. Then in 2004, I went, wait a minute. I'm doing palm reading, but I don't just do love. I do financial, I do medical, other things. I'll write a book about murderers, kidnappers, embezzlers, blackmailers, UFO people, ghosts, everything else that I see. So I wrote Diary of a Palm Reader.
Oh, okay.
So, and all 3 of those are doing pretty well.
Good.
And so I have a website, and this is sort of a little brag, but I have to tell you.
Go for it.
I came in number 6 in the U.S. for the best palmistry website this in the year 2012, and I came in number 12 as the best palmist in the world. And that was from Google, Alexa, and Bing. And I didn't even know it was being ranked. They just announced it and let me know. And I went, oh, my God.
That's
I didn't
pretty
know
cool.
that. Yeah, and I've had over 700,000 hits on my website.
Wow.
And that's pretty good, too.
Yeah, definitely.
And I talk to people all over the world, but I can only speak in English. So if they write me in a foreign language, I have to tell them, get somebody to interpret. I get them in French, and I can't read French.
Okay.
I took it in high school, but I can't make it out. And then what I do is have people go to Western Union with a money order, and I do palm reading. So I'm the only palmist in the world, and I figured this out, and I do it, who can do a radio show live with person who scans their hand to my computer when I don't blow it up. And I read their hand I just sit here and talk to them on the air on a show and read their palm live. And so I came up with a formula to do a TV show.
Okay.
And have a big monitor mounted in a studio where I'd have a live audience, and I'd take people from the audience and also people from all over the world with voice-over telephone. And I could read them live with a big pointer.
That sounds fun.
So that's like modern, and it hasn't happened yet because I haven't done it. But I have one particular network is looking at me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is.
So, and I've been doing this 63 years.
Wow.
So if you don't know your subject matter, I've been on CBS 3 times, and somebody said to me, this goes out to 50 million people. I said, okay. Said, are you nervous? I said, not yet. I like what I do. And I understand it, and I know my subject matter. Why am I going to get nervous, But I lecture, and I teach, and I do readings, and I do other things, too, so...
Sure.
So writing is, my degree was in journalism, and writing comes easy to me.
Yeah.
And they say, write about what you know about, just like you're doing.
Sure.
So I wrote about what I know.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So then when I wrote the one about the cruise ship, the one that hasn't come out yet, and I'm seeking a publisher now, I just don't have one because I'm not ready to tell them I have the manuscript yet even. That one is I go on a cruise once a year or more. And so I know about cruise lines, and I described the inside of the ship, and then my sister and I came up with a plot, and it's pretty good. I think it could be a movie.
Oh, okay. So this is a fiction book.
Yeah. So this is my first fiction. I've never written fiction because the others, I write for articles for magazines, and I do all kinds of writing all the time. I write something every day.
Sure.
But this was like a labor of love, and it took thousands of hours, and it's still taking a long time.
Sure.
I'm not done with it yet because the woman who critiqued it, or she edited it, told me that I had too many backstory things and change this and do that. And so she took out 5 chapters that I labored over, but I let her do it because she said we needed to be a page turner.
See, and that's, that is and whether it's fiction or nonfiction, that is the key to good writing.
Keep them reading. Yeah.
To understand that is, you got to be able to keep on reading. And I think that the best way to get to this point, and this is a hard lesson that I learned that I will do very differently on my second book, is write a ton and then take out what doesn't work. It's the subtractive editing process, and that seems to be the key to getting a good piece of work out there.
Well, I think what you take out can be used for other things.
Absolutely,
too. You can make a booklet, or you can make a pamphlet, or you could use it as an article.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in this industry when it's all about information, and we're always looking for ways that we can find and chunk out small amounts of information for blog posts or what have you. Now, did you find the process of writing fiction to be very different than that of writing?
Oh, completely different.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And how did you adapt to that? How did you kind of figure out how to?
But I like to write, so it just flows out of me. I don't have any trouble. But I write longhand, believe it or not.
Really?
Then I put it on the computer. Nobody does that, but I do.
Yeah.
And I could be writing when I'm laying in the bathtub, which I have before, or taking a sun bath outside, or when I'm in the car and I just jot a few things down. So I learn something every single day.
That is awesome.
And that's what keeps you young. So I'm not young, but I think I'm 30 in my head. So.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And so I meet so many interesting people, and I learn stuff from every single person that I meet, too.
Yeah, I bet so. Who's the most interesting person that you've met?
Oh, probably Gerald Ford when I read his hand.
Oh, wow. Now, how did that come about?
Well, he was a keynote speaker in Vail, or actually in Beaver Creek, which is next door to Vail up in the mountains. And I was working for a company, which I worked for 8 companies that send me out to do corporate events.
Okay.
And it was called Cirque du Soleil. That was the theme. And they had 10 entertainers, 2 palm readers, and I worked with a guy that I worked with plenty. He and I a lot of times work events together.
Okay.
They had 2 belly dancers, 2 of everything. And so when it was time for the readings, they put this man that I work with and me upstairs in this thing called the Eagle's Nest, which is the top part of this building. And so there were movie stars there and all kinds of big dignitaries. And all of a sudden I see my line is getting longer, and it stopped. Everybody parted the way, and they let some man in. And I look up, and it was Gerald Ford. And I'm not supposed to talk about this, so I don't know if this should come out or not, but I made him tell the Secret Service to move far away. So they moved across the room. And he said, I don't believe in this stuff. I don't even know what I'm in this line for, but since I'm here, I figured I might as well come to you. So I said, okay. And he was kind of abrupt. So he says, unless you tell me something only I know, then I'm going to think you're a fake, and I'm going to tell everybody in this line to go away. So I thought, okay.
Wow.
So I look in his hand, and I told him something about when he was 19, and he almost had a heart attack. And he said, oh, my God, I'm a believer. So he started yelling, and the Secret Service ran back over real quick. There were 5 of them, and I guess they thought I heard him or something. And he starts going, oh, my God, Betty Ford doesn't even know that.
Wow.
So that was the most interesting one. But at that particular party was all kinds of dignitaries and the mayors of towns and, a lot of stuff. It was fun.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, so
and then I've done directors of public works, and I've done, a lot of people think only people who like metaphysical stuff come to me, but it's actually for everybody.
Sure.
Well, palmistry is a science.
Okay.
Just like astrology is a science or numerology. It's not the woo-woo stuff.
Okay. Well, so tell me a little bit about, what is this? What does this let you do? What is this business that you've built around what you know and the skill that you have? How has that made your life better?
Well, it makes me happy. It makes me stand 10 feet tall because I'm helping people, and I'm loving that I'm learning something, and I'm making a nice income, which supplements our income.
Yeah.
My husband works, and I take mine and throw it in a savings account, and that's the gravy money. So whatever I earn pays for the new air conditioning or the new fence that we put in, or a cruise or a vacation or a plane fare or whatever. So mine is the money that we wouldn't have, and I don't have to get up every day at 8 o'clock and go to work and have dry cleaning and have gas expense and have to eat out and all that. I stay home.
Sure.
But I don't stay home that much. A lot of times I have to travel. If somebody has cancer and they can't get here and they call me up and they say, I need a reading, I go to them.
Okay.
And so I don't call it mobile palm reading because I don't advertise it. I do that, but I will do that for people who can't get out.
Okay. Well, that's cool. You know, a lot of people think that this, and a lot of the other people that do lifestyle design and all that, they tend to think that it's all about being able to lay on the beach, or it's all about just being able to have fun. And what it really is about, because I've talked to dozens of people who have successful lifestyle businesses, and it seems to be way more about just opening up space to do things that you love, and doing, like laying on a beach is never the answer that I hear from people when I say, what's your favorite part of this? It's always about, I get to do something I love. And the other cool thing is that, if you were working a full-time job, I don't know that you maybe would have been able to pursue the fiction novel that you've just written.
Oh, no, I never would have been able to because it was so many hours of labor.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I have an office right in my house.
Uh-huh.
And people come here, and I offer them, I tell them where my address is if they want to drive that far. The furthest anybody's driven to see me is from Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty far to get here. That was an 11-hour car ride. But they made a weekend out of it, and I was part of the weekend.
Okay.
They went antiquing. They stayed in a hotel. They did other stuff, and I was just 1 hour for the husband and one for the wife.
Sure.
But that was the furthest. But people will drive sometimes 3 hours to get here.
Okay.
3 hours back, and I say, you sure you want to do that? I can do it on the Internet. And they go, nope, I have to have it in person.
Okay.
And they want to look me in the eye, and I much rather look them in the eye if they can get here.
Sure.
But people in Japan and Australia have invited me to come to their home, and they said, if you came here on a vacation, I would spend a week with you and take you around, and, So I make some nice friends.
That's awesome. That's one of the coolest things about this business, I think, is you just meet such cool people.
Well, and I learned so much, and that's the thing. I never quit learning, and I never quit writing, and those are the two things that are the key to this. And so sometimes I get people I'm not crazy about that I have to read. And like at a fair, I had a guy once say, could you do my reading really fast? And they're 20-minute readings. And I said, well, why should we rush it? You're paying for 20 minutes. And he said, well, the mothership is circling the building. They want to take me to my new planet. So I wasn't crazy about that one.
Wow.
So I did some Lulus,
Uh-huh.
And so I just grinned and did his reading, and he got up and left.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't write about that, and he wasn't something I was interested in.
Sure.
And then I get people that are, they say, well, you didn't tell me anything I don't already know. I know my life. I said, but I don't know you, and I'm just showing you this is this and this is this. And then they get it. I talk about 5 basic lines, so there's enough, I could do 4 hours on one person if I wanted to.
Okay.
So the thing is, my voice is going from talking so much, and I usually tell people, I work 70 hours a week. I don't, but it feels like it because when I don't have someone here, I'm putting labels on tapes, or I'm making more brochures, or I'm making up flyers, or I'm working on other, always preparing.
Sure.
Or getting my poster ready to take to the next fair, or making sure and checking that my chair works right,
Sure.
or that my lamp works right, because I have a certain chair and a certain lamp that I like.
Oh, okay.
And so I have to have all that just so,
Yeah.
So the room where I do my readings in my house is a spare bedroom.
Okay.
And I have a couch in there, but I have 3 bulletin boards up on the wall, and every time I'm in the newspaper, there's pictures up there or articles.
Cool.
And then I have all my collections of hands that different clients are always giving me a hand.
Okay.
And then I have pyramids, and I have crystals, and I have the rock collection because I like geology and rocks, so
Okay.
I have a whole wall of all kinds of displays. So they walk in that room and they go, wow, the energy in here. And it is. It's like it's like you step out of a regular house into magic land. It's magical in there. And so then I have to bring them back to reality and say, okay, you looked around, you saw all my good things, now let's concentrate on you. And it is all specific to the person. It isn't general.
Sure. Sure.
And so because I do different things, not just readings, because I do readings, work in fairs, lecture, teach, write, and then I also, a lot of times I turn stuff down. I get asked to do a lot of things. But I do, a couple of times a year, I'll do MS benefits, or I'll do things for people that need to raise money. And I just turn over whatever I made that day and give it to them, like I did it for United Way, for United Airlines. And I made $500 in one day, and I just gave it to them for their discretionary fund.
That's so cool. One of the I love that about this business is that we can take our talents and the things that we know, and we can use them to help out not-for-profits, and it's a really cool
it's
model.
called giving back to community.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so I do that a couple times a year.
That's great.
And then when I do fairs, a lot of times I get approached by people who say, our church is having this benefit, can you come? And I have to know by my calendar.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty booked up. I have a schedule on my website, and it's enough to choke a horse already. And this is only March.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have it set up already, and there's probably 50 things I'm doing already.
Sure.
So
That's
that's
awesome.
big.
Now, you said something that was really interesting. I jotted a note down because I wanted to come back to it. And what you said was that the keys to this was writing and learning.
And I like to learn.
Yeah.
That's why I said my mind is still young. I want to learn something every day.
Sure.
And so I learn from people who tell me their stories, or I get the story out of their hand and I get it, and I find out, don't do that, that's not going to work, or that's interesting.
Yeah.
So the key for me is to stay alive and alert and pay attention and pick up information, and that's what you said too, information.
Yeah. Now, did you when you say you write, do you also blog or anything
Well,
else
I
like
had
that?
a blog, and I don't have time to keep it up, so
Okay.
it's there, but I haven't done it for probably a year.
Okay.
And the reason is I get phone calls from people who tell me, you put me together with so-and-so. It's great. I'm in love. This is wonder. And I have to sit there and say, that's great, and talk to them. And that isn't really business, but it is, because it's followed through. And I do follow up.
So for you, the more time-consuming part of the blog was the follow-up. That was more so than actually creating the
No,
blog.
it was actually, I could create it in 5 minutes and
I
throw
see.
something up there every day,
Yeah.
but I have so much going on
Yeah.
that the phone's ringing off. I had a girlfriend come to visit on Monday or Tuesday, and she came from 3 to 5.
Uh-huh.
And the phone probably rang 10 times while she was here. And she said, oh, my God, your phone's jumping off the hook. I said, every day.
Uh-huh.
I get about 18 calls a day.
Wow. And see, that's so cool because, when you're in the beginning stages of a business like this, you're pushing. You're pushing.
You're hoping the
yourself
phone
out.
will ring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the cool thing is when that tide starts to turn, and then people are coming back to you, and it sounds like you've been at that place for quite some time.
And they also refer, because I do parties. I'll do palm parties at people's houses. So I'll tell somebody who's here, well, you need 10 friends, and I'll read some more on you for free.
Sure.
The parties come out of the woodwork.
I
because
bet.
they want more for free,
Yeah.
And then I tape record for everybody when I'm at a party. I can't do that at a fair. Usually it's too noisy, too loud, and there's maybe outside trucks going by or whatever.
Sure.
So...
Well, so for our listeners, they all want to do something with their knowledge and their skills that is going to give them a free and flexible lifestyle. And what can you tell them what the biggest mistake that you made was going along?
My biggest mistake. I made plenty of them. I don't know what the biggest one is. Sometimes I put advertising places that doesn't do me any good.
Yeah.
I'm just now going out of the yellow pages. At the end of this month, I'm done because nobody uses that anymore.
Yep.
Now they use it on handheld devices, and they look up. So now I'm on Yelp.
Okay.
Or on Yext, and I'm on 69 different places that people can get me, and that's why my phone's ringing like this.
Okay.
So with the Yellow Pages, I had that ad for probably 15 years, and now I'm done with it. I just canceled it.
That's a huge trend. It's just not as effective anymore. I've heard that from a number of people.
Well, because it's modern times now.
Yeah.
But I just worked at a dance at a college up in Greeley, Colorado, a Valentine's dance, and I asked the woman, where did you hear about me? And she was young, and she was the assistant director or whatever of activities, and she said, well, I looked in the Yellow Pages, and then I wanted to find out more about you, so I got my handheld iPod or whatever she was using, and I found your website, and there's videos on there and all kinds of stuff. She said, I knew you so well by the time I called you. Well, you don't know that from a Yellow Pages ad.
Yeah. Now, you said that she said she knew you. Now, do you talk a lot about yourself and your journey and your story on your website?
No, it's just the website starts out with, my pictures so people know what I look like. And then I have other stuff on there, and there's a lot of different pages.
Okay.
Like, why do you need a palm reading? What does it consist of? What lines am I going to talk about? And then there's things on there, other things. I have a passage from my first book.
Okay.
And it's a thing, and it says, life is like a stream, and it passes through different things. But anyway, there's a lot to it. That's why it won those awards. So it probably has 15 pages because I have testimonials and I have my schedule and all that stuff. Well, she read the whole thing, and then she called me up and said, could you do a Valentine's dance for us? It's going to be from 8 to 12 on such and such a date. I happen to be free. And I said, I'd love to. Well, it's an hour and plus from my house. And it was over at midnight. So I came home after 1 that night. Then the next night I did a singles dance. And so the singles all want to know, am I going to find my mate? And things like that.
Yeah.
So I do all that, too.
Okay.
And so I work for agencies. I also work for myself. And with an agency, they're going to get their cut. So they might charge $125 an hour. I get the 100, they get the 25.
Okay.
See, and so I travel up to the mountains, usually in carpools. A bunch of us will go together.
Okay.
And this Friday night, I'm working in a restaurant.
Okay.
From 5 to 10. And the reason I am is the man came last week and he had an emergency. I have to see you right away. And I said, well, I'm busy today. I'm already booked. How about 7:30 tonight? I like to cut it off at 8 o'clock at night. So he said, okay. Showed up 7:30 on the dot. He owns an Italian restaurant. And he stayed till 8:30, but that was okay. I didn't mind that. So then he bought 2 of my 3 books, had his reading, and invited me to work in his restaurant, and I'm doing it Friday night.
Very cool.
So I made a friend right there.
Yeah.
See, and I learned from him a lot of things that I didn't know, and that was because he had an emergency, and we talked about what it was, and it had to do with his wife told him, get out of my face, you have 4 hours to be out of my house.
Wow.
And I found out from his hand that it was 2 years ago they've been having trouble. And he said, well, no, really 18 months. So I said, well, I'm not God. It looks like 2 years to me on your hand. And they haven't had relations for 2 years. And that's why it became roommates, and that's why she said that.
Sure.
So a person can't lie to me. A lot of times somebody will sit down and say, no, that isn't right. Oh, you got that wrong. And I think I'm pretty good. So when I'm all done and they're paying me and standing up and they say, well, I lied. I just wanted to see if you really get it or not. You got me 100% spot on.
Wow.
So they can't really, people try to put walls up so I can't get it. But you're born with a hand, right? Hand has lines on it, right?
Yep.
Then people have experiences as they grow up, and as things happen, the lines change. And so I can see what they came in with, where they are now, and what's going to happen and where they're going. And so some people read bumps on the head, or some people read the feet. I just read the lines on a hand.
Okay.
So I made a complete career out of one little thing that I learned when I was 10.
So cool. So what for anybody out there who wants to create a business and a lifestyle around their knowledge and their skills, what is the biggest piece of advice that you would give them?
You have to follow your heart, listen to your inner voice, and your inner child will take you where you need to go. But I wouldn't give up a corporate job until I had the other one going.
Yeah.
Because I did that radio show, and it sparked the whole thing, and from then it just grew.
Yeah.
So my husband said he's sorry now he created a cookie monster because I can't stop.
Yeah.
And I'm at 50,721 hands.
Wow.
That I documented.
That is a lot. That is a lot of hands. But
and I learned on my sister when she was 6. She was the very first one I practiced on.
Oh, okay.
And I was 10. So to this day, she walks with her hand behind her, won't let me look. She thinks I'm going to find something, but I already know her hand by heart. So. But this is a good one. A guy came yesterday who I read 13 years ago, and I didn't recognize his name. He walked in the door. I didn't recognize what he looked like. He sat down, and I said, "Oh, I read you a long time ago. Did I tell you this, 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 and this?" And he says, "I'm impressed." I remembered his hand. I was there before, see?
That is cool.
So he had an M on it, and I told him when he was around 50, he would hit the millions. He just turned 50. So I said, well, it might be your 51st year, it might be 52, but it's around now. And he's a tennis pro, and he's getting ready to open his own, buy a building and the land and open his own place. I think cool. he's going to do something with that. So, and he might write.
Excellent. Well, where can we go to get more information about you, Myrna?
Well, I would love people to check out my website, and it's www.myrnaloupalmistry, spelled M-Y, looks like my, RNALOUPALMISTRY.com. And my email, hmg@privateeye, because what I do is private.
Okay.
So it's PRIVATE, the little letter I.com. Or they can call me, 303-651-6273. Or they could write to me at my P.O. Box, which is 19081 Boulder, Boulder, Colorado, 80503.
80503. All right. We will include all of that in the notes below the show.
Perfect.
And I thank you so much for your time, Myrna, and I applaud you for having so much success for such a long time and such an awesome career doing something that you absolutely love and having a life that you love. And I wish you the best of luck, and let me know how I can help you in the future.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for having me. And this is just another little red feather in my hat.
Sure.
And I will display your book when I have it.
That sounds
Put it right in my office so everybody can see it.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to send you a copy.
Okay.
All right.
And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Myrna. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the How to Quit Working show. Tune in next time when we'll talk to another amazing person just like you who is now living the ultimate life of freedom and doing it on their terms. If you want to learn how to quit working and get these episodes delivered directly to you, visit howtoquitworkingshow.com.